This wasn't just any competition for Sarah. This was the moment when she would finally prove her worth. With her father's recent remarriage and the introduction of her new family, the stakes had somehow grown even higher. Today was a test of not just her riding skills, but of her ability to reclaim her place in a family that felt, at times, more like strangers than kin. Just then, the sound of a car approaching snapped her back to reality. Sarah's heart skipped a beat as she remembered her father's words. Jake is coming today. Her stepbrother, whom she barely knew, was about to walk through those barn doors. The thought brought a flood of memories, some sweet, some confusing rushing back. When they were children, their interactions had been playful, innocent. But as Andy and Julie's romance blossomed, they seemed to fade into distant echoes rather than vibrant connections. On the horizon, the car door opened, and she saw him for the first time in years. Jake stepped out, looking taller and more confident than she remembered. His dark hair caught the sunlight, and despite her apprehensions, she couldn't help but feel a twinge of excitement mixed with dread. Would he remember her? Would they have anything in common anymore? She felt the unmistakable weight of eyes upon her as she watched him approach. The sun glinted off his athletic frame, and for a moment, she was caught off guard not by his appearance, but by the flood of memories of the boy she used to play with, the boy who had made her laugh on long summer days. Today, however, he was now a stranger draped in familiarity. "Hey, Sarah," Jake called, his voice warm and inviting, cutting through her thoughts. It echoed with ease, yet it felt like a challenge. She forced a smile, trying to mask the whirlwind of emotions that threatened to spill over. "Jake, it's been a while," she responded, her voice steady but thick with uncertainty. Instead of the playful kid she remembered, this version of Jake seemed both intriguing and intimidating, a blend of confidence and warmth that stirred a flurry of feelings she couldn't quite place. "Yeah, I guess so," he replied, his blue eyes locking onto herseled friends, trying to navigate social waters that had turned murky with time. "You've changed a lot. You look amazing." The compliment fell between them, sparking an unexpected flutter in her chest. "Thanks. You too," she replied, the words leaving her mouth as if they had a life of their own. Her cheeks flushed, betraying her careful composure. As they stepped inside the barn, the familiar scents wrapped around hair a mix of excitement and nostalgia. Surrounding them were horses of all shapes and colors, each one competing for attention in their own right. As they shared stories about their lives, the initial barriers began to soften. He told her about living in a new town and how he had been riding horses ever since he could walk, while she spoke about her passion for show jumping and her dream of winning this competition. An unexpected bond began to grow. A wind of camaraderie began sweeping through their conversation. Yet, between the laughter, she could feel the tremors of vulnerability beneath the surface. Every glance lingered just a moment too long. Every joke carried an underlying tension that seemed to electrify the air around them. "Do you still have that old pony?" Jake asked, and the question sent a laugh bubbling out of her. Memories of their childhood days spent riding in the fields came rushing back, vivid and stirring. They used to race each other on Bella and her old pony, Swift, until they collapsed in a heap of giggles and hay. "He's still around, actually, just a bit grumpier," she replied, her heart warming at the nostalgia. "But he's a softie at heart, really." As the day unfolded, it became apparent that the level of familiarity they once shared was still present, hiding just beneath the surface. Laughter echoed in the barn as they retrieved brushes and worked together to prepare the horses. Each brush stroke seemed to deepen their connection, both enjoying the simple pleasure of the task at hand. Yet as they prepared for the competition, the reality of the day loomed large. The main arena awaited, filled with spectators, a world where judgment lurked in every shadow and expectation hung like fog. "I hope I don't embarrass myself," Sarah admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. She was conscious of her nervousness, aware that Jake's presence intensified every emotion she felt. The last thing she wanted was to appear weak in front of him. "Don't be ridiculous. You've got this. You always were a natural," he encouraged, his confidence infectious. But as she looked at him, uncertainty mixed with admiration. Would she really be able to live up to his expectations? The pressure mounted with every passing hour. Just then, the sound of the loudspeaker echoed through the barn, announcing the start of the competition. It felt as if the world had dropped into silence, leaving just the two of them standing in the twilight of the barn, their faces painted with anticipation and unspoken understanding. "Are you ready?" Jake asked, his voice breaking the stillness. "Not sure," she admitted, her heart pounding in rhythm with the beat of her doubts. "But can I count on you to cheer for me?" The request felt fragile, yet there was strength in her vulnerability. "Always," he assured her, the promise solidified with a brief smile that warmed her heart. As they made their way to the arena, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. Everything was about to change, whether she was ready or not. The spotlight would shine on them both, illuminating not just their abilities, but the unexpected bond rekindling between them. In a moment, the chaos of the competition pulled them apart, but the electricity in the air left a mark on her heart. As she mounted Bella and prepared for her turn, she took a deep breath, feeling Jake's watchful gaze encourage her onward. The crowd was alive with energy, and somehow, amidst the stress and anxiety, she felt grounded by the unlikeliest of connections. The moment was here, and everyone was watching, ready to witness not just a horse show, but the unfolding story of two souls navigating their entwined fates against a backdrop of expectations and unspoken desires. And Sarah, more than ever, was determined to prove that she was more than just a girl with a horse. She was ready to embrace her journey, with Jake beside her, heart racing in rhythm with hers. Secrets of the past. The morning sun filtered through the barn windows, casting dappled light on Sarah as she meticulously groomed Bella. The rhythmic strokes of the brush soothed her, but inside, a storm of emotions brewed. Yesterday's competition had been both exhilarating and overwhelming, leaving her with a lingering sense of uncertainty about the future and her undeniable connection with Jake. Ready for another round of training today? Jake appeared at the barn entrance, his silhouette framed by the golden light. His upbeat demeanor was infectious, yet Sarah couldn't shake the anxious flutter in her stomach. "Yeah, I think so," she replied, trying to sound enthusiastic. But the apprehension laced her voice. The pressure to perform weighed heavily on her. What if she let everyone down again? And what if that someone was Jake? "We shouldn't waste this good weather," he suggested with a grin that seemed to melt her worries for a moment. "Let's take Bella out to the jumping fields." The mention of the field sent a mix of excitement and dread coursing through her. Jumping had always been her strength, but with Jake watching, the stakes felt even higher. "Okay, let's do it," she finally agreed, pushing her doubts aside. As they saddled the horses, Sarah tried to focus on the task. Each movement became a meditation, a way to calm the churning thoughts in her mind. When they finally mounted their horses, she felt the familiar thrill of riding pulse through her veins. They galloped under the clear blue sky, the wind rushing past them like a living entity. With each stride Bella took, Sarah felt her worries dissipate, if only for a fleeting moment. She caught Jake glancing at her, admiration shining in his eyes as they raced side by side. That fleeting connection sparked a warmth within her. It felt both exciting and terrifying. "Let's try some jumps," Jake called, his voice cutting through the wind. Sarah's heart fluttered at the thought. She had practiced for years, but doing it in front of him felt different, exposed. Still, she nodded, pushing back her fears. They reached the jump course, set up for practice, and Sarah dismounted to adjust the height of the bars. "You go first," Jake suggested, his tone teasing yet encouraging. With a bit of hesitation, she took a deep breath, feeling the energy in her body stealing her resolve. The first jump was exhilarating, Bella clearing it with grace. Sarah felt a rush of accomplishment until she turned and noticed Jake's eyes on her. The way they lit up with genuine pride sent warmth flooding through her. If only it were that easy to express her feelings. "Not bad," Jake shouted, clapping as she landed gracefully. His enthusiasm was like a light, illuminating the doubts that clouded her mind. "Your turn," she urged, eager to see what he could do. Jake mounted his horse, and Sarah watched intently as he circled before approaching the jump. He sailed over it with effortless grace, landing lightly, as if he had been doing it his entire life. "Okay, maybe I should up my game," Sarah joked, masking her self-doubt with laughter. But deep down, she felt a flicker of inspiration. They were in this together, an unspoken partnership that drove her performance higher. As the afternoon wore on, they trained tirelessly, the sun casting long shadows across the field. With each jump, a competitive spirit ignited within her, fueled by Jake's encouragement and a growing tension that hung thick in the air between them. It bubbled beneath the surface of their playful banter, something unacknowledged yet palpable. "Let's try a double jump," Jake suggested, a glint of mischief in his eyes. "You can do it. Just follow my lead." The idea sent a wave of fear through her. "What if I mess up?" she replied, her voice almost a whisper. "What if I fall?" But Jake flashed a bright smile, his confidence a beam of light penetrating her uncertainty. "You won't. Trust me." His unwavering belief in her abilities ignited courage within her. She faced him, determination filling her gaze. "All right, let's do this," she said, more to herself than to him. Heart pounding, she focused on Bella, mentally preparing for what lay ahead. They approached the jump, and for a brief moment, time slowed, the world around them faded away. As they took off, euphoria surged through her as they cleared the first jump. A rush of adrenaline combined with a heady mixture of fear and exhilaration sent blood pounding in her ears. But as they approached the second jump, a moment of uncertainty struck. Bella hesitated, sensing Sarah's sudden wave of anxiety. In that split second, everything blurred, time warped, and reality cracked, all while her heart raced. She squeezed the reins tighter, urging Bella forward. "Come on, Bella!" she shouted, her voice strained with urgency. Suddenly the moment shattered as Bella launched them through the air, the world below a mere blur of colors. They soared, and in that fleeting instant, life felt perfect. But reality crashed back as they landed awkwardly. Bella stumbled, and Sarah felt her grip loosening, fear engulfing her as she fought for balance. Just as she thought she would fall, she regained her hold and squeezed with her legs, stabilizing her horse. "Nice save," Jake called, a spark of admiration in his voice. Relieved, she realized it was nothing short of instinct, a sign that perhaps their connection was fortifying her skills. "Thanks," she breathed heavily. But a shadow of doubt lingered in her heart. What if luck had played a part? She dismissed the thought, biting her lip, intent on shaking off the anxiety as she hopped off Bella. Jake dismounted too, his brow glistening with sweat, excitement painting his features as he approached her. "You really nailed that." It was impressive. His infectious enthusiasm coursed through her veins, spurring her on despite her own doubts. "Yeah, but," she began, unsure how to voice her fears. "What if next time I can't? What if I wasn't really in control?" "Don't think like that," Jake interrupted, the warmth in his voice grounding her. "You've got a gift, Sarah. Just stay focused and remember, it's about enjoying the ride. The rest will follow." His eyes locked onto hers, a moment stretched between them, rich with unvoiced feelings, a simmering connection that left her breathless. The way he spoke fueled something deep within her, compelling her to embrace her ambitions. After a brief silence, she nodded, swallowing hard as she tried to gather her thoughts. "You really believe that?" she asked, searching for reassurance. "The way you handled Bella shows it. Just trust yourself," he replied softly, a sincerity radiating from him that sent a shiver down her spine. She sensed the layers behind his words, the understanding that transcended mere encouragement. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting a warm glow across the field, Sarah felt a weight lift off her shoulders. The connection between them deepened with each shared laugh and exchanged glance. Talking about their dreams and aspirations, Sarah revealed her desire to compete at more significant events, to travel, and simply to find herself amid the chaos of emotions surrounding her. "I've always felt like there was so much more out there," she confessed, her voice soft yet determined. "But sometimes I feel like I'm stuck, like I can't escape the expectations." Jake listened intently, his gaze unwavering. "You're stronger than you think, Sarah. You just have to trust that you can take that leap," he encouraged again, leaning closer as if to share a secret. It was in that moment, surrounded by the fading light of day, they spoke of dreams and fears, expectations and aspirations. It became clear that they were both fighting their own battles, yet somehow found solace in each other's stories, an understanding of the pressures that came with the weight of familial expectations. As they continued to talk, something shifted in the air, a crescendo that echoed their growing feelings. Each word hung between them, charged with a tension that begged to be acknowledged, but was masked beneath layers of friendship and unspoken emotions. It was exhilarating and terrifying at the same time. When the sky turned a deep shade of indigo and stars began to blink above them, they finally returned to the barn, completing a day brimming with exhilaration and revelation. Their hearts were lighter, the shared experiences threading an invisible bond between them. In the quiet moments that followed, as they took care of Bella and settled into the routine of the stable, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this connection was only the beginning. They were both on the precipice of something beautiful, aching yet exhilarating, a journey they hadn't even begun to understand, and as they stood side by side, the world around them faded, leaving just the two of them, two souls dancing on the edge of a new chapter yet to be written. The turning point. The morning sun broke through the clouds, casting a golden hue over the barn, and Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose as she prepared for another day of training with Jake. After their heart-to-heart the day before, her confidence was at an all-time high. They had built a camaraderie deeper than either of them had anticipated, and with the upcoming regional competition looming closer, the stakes felt incredibly real. "Ready for today's challenge?" Jake called as he walked into the barn, his usual exuberance lighting up the space. The way he looked at her made her heart flutter, and she knew she had to give it her all. "Bring it on," she replied, her voice filled with determination. If she could face the pressures of competition, she could certainly handle whatever challenge Jake had in store. They decided to work on precision today, training Bella and herself to navigate tight corners and difficult jumps. The beauty of the barn and the surrounding fields created an idyllic scene, but Sarah was aware of the tension brewing beneath the surface. She couldn't shake the feeling that with each passing day, the connection between her and Jake grew more intense, and with that, the stakes felt even higher. After warming up, they moved to the designated training area, a sprawling field marked with cones and obstacles. Sarah focused on the jumps as Jake set about guiding her. "Let's work on your approach speed," he instructed, jumping off his horse to demonstrate. He was in his element, confident, strong, and full of life. As he gracefully hopped over one of the cones, Sarah couldn't help but admire him. She felt a rush of admiration mixed with the flutter of something more. "Okay, here's the plan," Jake called out, pulling her back to the task at hand. "We'll time how fast you can complete the course today. Let's see if you can beat your personal best." With a determined nod, she mounted Bella, her nerves bubbling beneath her confident facade. The duo prepared to run a series of jumps and turns, and with every glance from Jake, she felt a cool rush of adrenaline coursing through her. "Focus, Sarah," he shouted, snapping her back to the task at hand. "Waiting won't get you anywhere." With a deep breath, she squeezed her heels into Bella's sides and surged forward. The sound of pounding hooves filled her ears as they galloped through the course, the wind whipping against her face. The first jump came up, and she raised her hands instinctively, feeling the thrill surge through her as they soared over. But then they turned sharply, and a flash of doubt crept in. A small voice in her head warned her to slow down, to consider her next move carefully. But this time, she fought against that voice. She trusted her training, and as if sensing her determination, Bella moved with grace and power. "Faster, Sarah," Jake shouted from the sidelines, his voice piercing through her concentration. She was aware of his gaze, his encouragement fueling her ambition as they navigated through the increasingly complicated course. Another jump approached, and as they soared over, Sarah heard the gasps of onlookers, people from the nearby town who had come to watch. Their surprise filled her with pride, but also added pressure. What if she faltered? What if she failed? Would Jake still look at her like that? Pushing aside her doubts, she forced herself to focus. Every stride, every angle, the course was a dance she knew all too well. But as they reached the final jump, fate intervened. Bella stumbled, misjudging the landing. The world tilted, and Sarah felt herself lose her balance. Time slowed. Panic gripped her as she struggled to regain control. "No, no, no," she gasped, leaning low to regain her balance. Jake's voice erupted, "Hold on!" But just as quickly as they had begun, they burst through the landing, The momentum pulled them forward, and in a moment that felt suspended in time, Sarah regained her seat and centered herself atop Bella. The duo completed the course, but her heart raced. They had narrowly escaped disaster. The moment they slowed to a halt, Sarah dismounted and felt Jake at her side. "You did great," he grinned, though the concern in his eyes was unmistakable. "Yeah, great," she echoed, her voice shaky. But inside, doubt spiraled. "But what if I hadn't caught myself?" she questioned, feeling the weight of expectation pressing down on her. "Listen," Jake said, his voice dropping to a more serious tone. "You managed to recover without panicking. That shows real talent. Or luck," she replied, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. Something deep within her believed he was being overly kind, afraid to point out her flaws. "Don't dismiss your abilities," he replied, stepping closer to her. "You have what it takes, Sarah. Just don't let fear control you. Fear can be a powerful enemy." The intensity of his gaze momentarily paralyzed her, the unspoken tension between them amplifying as she struggled to articulate her feelings. Did he realize how much his words impacted her? How his unwavering support inspired her? The atmosphere hung thick with unformed words and unresolved tension. Just then, the shriek of tires interrupted them, breaking the fragile moment. They turned to see a car pulling up to the barn, bringing with it a sense of foreboding. Sarah squinted in the sunlight, recognizing the car as her father's. "Oh no, he's here for the meeting," she sighed, feeling a wave of anxiety wash over her. Their father had been planning a big family meeting, and she knew this was more about controlling expectations than celebrating achievements. Jake studied her, his expression shifting from concern to resolve. "Hey, just remember what we talked about," he urged, a reassuring smile crossing his face. "You've got this. I'll be cheering you on." As her father exited the vehicle, a knot tightened in her stomach. He marched towards the barn, the authority in his presence dimming the vibrant energy of the moment with Jake. "Sarah," he called, his voice firm, "we need to talk." She felt a chill infiltrate her resolve as she turned to face him. "Dad, I just finished training. Now," he insisted, cutting her off. His tone was unyielding, and she could see the disappointment etched on his face. "We need to discuss next steps for the competition. It's important." Jake glanced at her, a hint of unease in his expression, before stepping back. "I'll give you some space," he said softly, though Sarah could feel the electric tension lingering as he walked away. As her father began scolding her, outlining all the ways in which she needed to step up her game and focus, her heart sank. His words felt like weight upon her chest, a familiar burden she had experienced countless times before. "Why can't you just focus?" he pressed. "You need to start taking this seriously. Enough with the casual attitude." As the conversation dragged on, Sarah felt the grip of desperation tighten around her. Every word he spoke seemed to dismantle the confidence she had built with Jake, tearing at her resolve. She forced herself to keep a steady exterior, but the unease brewed beneath the surface. "What about Jake?" She finally cut in, desperately searching for some semblance of support in her father's unwavering authority. "What about him?" her father snapped, adding pressure to her already strained relationship. "He's not the one competing. I want you to focus on your potential, not get distracted by friendships." Frustration boiled inside her. "But he believes in me," she shot back, unsure where the fierce defense had emerged from. The look of shock on her father's face only fueled her pacing heart. He dismissed her words with a wave of his hand. "This is not about him, Sarah. This is about you, your future. You need to remember that." With every word he spoke, the connection she felt with Jake seemed more fragile. With her father focusing on performance rather than passion, her mind raced with conflicting beliefs. As the conversation dragged on, she felt herself retreating into the shadows, herself, the ambitious equestrian, lost beneath the expectations of the daughter he wanted her to be. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the discussion came to an end, leaving her feeling more isolated than ever. Jake stood a few feet away, observing the fallout with careful eyes, and Sarah felt as if she were standing on the edge of a cliff, fear gripping her heart. How could she show her true self when the world seemed intent on forcing her to conform? "Are you okay?" Jake asked softly, once her father disappeared inside the barn, leaving her in silence. She glanced up at him, feeling tears welling in her eyes. "I'm tired of feeling like I don't matter unless I win," she admitted, the floodgates opening. Vulnerability seeped into her voice as she poured out her fears. "Everything is just so focused on expectations and not on me, not on what I want." Jake stepped closer, his presence offering comfort amidst the turmoil. "You're more than just a reflection of someone else's dreams. Sarah, you're capable of defining your own path," he urged. Locking eyes with her, a surge of emotion swept through her, and she found the courage to confront the truth. "I don't want to lose myself in this process," she confessed, her voice steadying as her heart dared to hope. His gaze softened, and for a moment, the chaos of the world paused. "Then don't," he whispered, a promise embedded in his words. "You have the power to shape your own destiny." The weight of expectation lifted slightly, replaced by a flicker of possibility. Maybe she could forge her own path, combining the support she found in Jake with the desires swirling within her heart. Together, they could navigate this confusing, exhilarating path ahead. As they stood there, a newfound awareness filled the air between them, electrifying and charged. With every passing moment, she felt stronger, more capable of embracing her passions, and more open to the unpredictable journey that lay before them. Today had been a turning point, a moment of clarity hidden within the chaos, a step toward becoming the person she truly wanted to be. A moment of truth. The tension in the air was palpable as Sarah approached the barn the following morning. The sun peeked over the horizon, casting a warm glow that slowly melted away the remnants of doubt she had felt the day before. Her father's words still lingered in her mind, but she was determined to reclaim her focus and prove to herself that she could rise above the expectations placed upon her. After her heartfelt discussion with Jake, all she wanted was to channel her energy into training. She hoped that today would be different, more freeing, more invigorating. As she entered the barn, she spotted Jake already grooming Bella. "Hey, early riser," he called, glancing up with that signature grin that instantly brightened her day. "Couldn't wait to get back out there," she replied, returning the smile. The bond they had built was evolving, transforming into something rich and powerful, yet intoxicatingly complex. "Let's make the most of it. I've got a new routine I want us to try. It'll push us both." His excitement was contagious, and she felt an electric thrill at the thought of working together. Through the morning light, their camaraderie deepened as they practiced. They worked through jumps and turns, their laughter mingling with the sounds of hooves on the ground. Their connection felt fluid, as if each movement and every conversation ignited sparks of creativity in both their riding styles. But with every jump, a nagging question remained in Sarah's mind. Could she really compete on the level her father expected? As they finished up the first round, panting and exhilarated, Jake looked at her, his blue eyes alight with enthusiasm. "You've improved so much in just a week. I think you're ready for something more challenging, don't you?" "Like what?" she asked, intrigued but cautious. "There's a Gymkhana event happening next weekend, a series of tests that require speed, agility, and precision. It's different from regular show jumping, but I think you'd excel. It would be a fantastic way to showcase your skill." His eyes gleamed with excitement, and for a moment, Sarah felt drawn to the idea. But just as quickly, the fear gripped her again. What if she was not up to the challenge? "Jake, what if I fail?" Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke. "That's not an option," he insisted, stepping closer. "You're not going to fail. You've already shown how capable you are. This is just another step, a chance to prove to yourself that you can handle anything thrown your way." His unwavering confidence was like a lifeline, and Sarah could feel the weight of her self-doubt diminishing. "Okay, I'm in," she said, her voice ignited with determination. The decision felt like a leap into the unknown, but Jake's belief in her spurred her on. As the week progressed, they devoted countless hours to training. The Gymkhana preparations tested their limits, both physically and mentally. They laughed, they challenged each other, and often found themselves lost in moments of unexpected vulnerability. Yet one evening, as twilight settled over the barn, Sarah felt a twinge of anxiety as she brushed Bella's coat, everything weighing heavily on her mind. What if I mess up? What if all of this was just a dream, and I'm really not cut out for this? Jake watched her and then stepped closer. "Sarah, listen. You're not defined by a single day or event. You shape your path every time you choose to ride, every time you invest in yourself. You're more than this competition." The sincerity in his voice resonated deep within her, igniting a fire in her core. Smiling, she met his gaze, confident they could support each other through whatever lay ahead. It was clear their friendship was becoming something more profound, something neither could quite define yet. As the day of the Gymkhana dawned bright and clear, Sarah felt a mix of exhilaration and dread. She and Jake arrived at the event, surrounded by buzzing crowds and the vibrant energy of other competitors preparing for the challenge ahead. The atmosphere was electric, and as the first riders entered the arena, Sarah felt her stomach flip-flop. "Just remember what we practiced," Jake encouraged, standing at her side. He glanced at her with a mix of confidence and pride, his presence grounding her amid the chaos. "Thanks for always believing in me," she replied, feeling a surge of gratitude swell within her. The way he had been there for her through every challenge was nothing short of extraordinary. As the competition began, Sarah felt the tides of tension roll through the crowd. One by one, the riders performed their routines, and every time another competitor finished, the audience erupted into applause. Each round brought its own set of challenges, and Sarah found herself lost in the rhythm of the event. Finally, it was her turn. Mounting Bella, she felt an exhilarating rush as they approached the starting line. The crowd quieted, and just as she was about to place her hands on the reins, she remembered the support and the unwavering belief in her abilities that Jake had instilled within her. Taking a deep breath, she squeezed her legs against Bella's sides, and they surged forward. They galloped toward the first obstacle, and with every jump, Sarah could feel the adrenaline pumping through her veins. The routine flowed seamlessly. Their movements together felt like an elaborate dance. Every jump they cleared fueled her confidence, each cheer from the crowd igniting a fire within. As they approached the final obstacle, a complex series of barrels, Sarah's heart raced. Their rhythm shifted. Bella felt more alive than ever. "Come on, girl," Sarah whispered, urging her horse on. Together they sailed through the final jumps, the adrenaline skyrocketing. But just as they cleared the last barrel, Bella started to stumble, miscalculating her landing. Panic surged through Sarah. Time seemed to slow as terror gripped her, the ground rushing up to meet them. "No," she breathed, clinging to the reins, heart pounding as she instinctively leaned forward, desperate to regain balance. And just like that, everything changed. With a burst of strength, Sarah steadied herself, nudging Bella with her legs. They landed upright, and with a final push, they rushed across the finish line. The crowd erupted into cheers, but all Sarah could feel was the shock of what had just happened. Disbelief coursed through her veins. Had she truly finished? As she approached the end, Jake was there waiting, his eyes filled with awe. "You did it. You handled that like a pro." "Barely," she panted, her heart still racing. She dismounted, her legs shaking. The adrenaline still coursed through her, but relief flooded her senses. "Did you see that? I thought we were going down. You caught it at the last moment. That was incredible," he exclaimed, pulling her into an unexpected embrace filled with warmth and pride. It felt so right in that moment, a culmination of everything they had been through together. But just as quickly, the celebration was interrupted as the event officials called for the winners. A wave of anticipation swept through the crowd, and Sarah felt her stomach tighten. Had she done enough to place? "Stay close," Jake whispered, his eyes sparkling with excitement. They gathered with the other competitors, and as the announcer began to call out names, the tension in the air thickened. Anxiety hung heavy as Sarah listened intently, barely able to catch her breath. When the announcer finally called out her name for third place, the cheers and applause around her felt surreal. "I did it. I actually did it!" Sarah couldn't contain her excitement, jumping up and down as Jake enveloped her in a tight hug once more, this time filled with exuberance. But through the thrill of her accomplishment, something shifted. She gazed at the other competitors, many of whom displayed expressions of envy or defeat. In that moment, Sarah's heart sank as she began to question if she truly deserved this victory, a creeping unease that began festering under the surface. "Sarah, you earned this. You worked so hard," Jake urged as if sensing her internal struggle. "Did I?" Her voice came out shaky, a mix of triumph and self-doubt. "What if it was just luck? What if I'll never shegged again?" Jake turned toward her, the intensity in his eyes unwavering. "You are more than one competition, and you've proven that today. You're capable of so much more than you realize. Don't let anyone take that from you." The weight of those words resonated deeply, yet uncertainty still whispered in her ear. The excitement of the day mingled with an unsettling fear, both exhilarating and daunting. As the adrenaline began to fade, they stepped away from the crowd, seeking some solitude away from the noise. They found a quiet patch under a tree, where the cool breeze brushed against their skin, offering a moment of respite. "Want to talk about it?" Jake asked gently, sensing her turmoil. "About what?" she questioned, avoiding his gaze as she traced her fingers in the grass. "About how you're feeling," he replied, concern etched across his features. "You don't have to pretend with me." Taking a deep breath, Sarah finally allowed herself to let go. "I'm proud, but I'm scared, Jake. Scared that I won't be able to live up to this or that I'll lose everything I just gained." He looked at her, understanding the depth of her fear. "You don't have to have all the answers right now. Just take it one step at a time." The vulnerability between them was palpable, and she could feel the bond between them strengthening. With the weight of their journey pressing on her heart, she leaned in and whispered, "Thank you for always believing in me." In that moment, surrounded by the serenity of nature, she saw something she hadn't fully grasped before. Strength wasn't about never faltering, but rather about rising after each stumble. As anxiety faded, hope began to blossom within her. As they sat together, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Sarah realized that she wouldn't have to navigate this journey alone. Whatever lay ahead, victories or challenges, they would face it together, carving a path that was truly their own. The bond between them was no longer just formed of friendship. It had matured into something profoundly beautiful. Just as they started to let their guard down, a commotion arose nearby. They turned, curiosity piqued, only to see a commotion. A nearby horse had gotten loose, running wild through the crowd, panic spreading in its wake. "Stay back," an event official shouted as people began to scatter, trying to avoid the panicked horse. "Jake!" Sarah yelled, her heart racing in a different way now as she spotted the animal heading towards the stands, where onlookers were frozen in fear. "Let's show them what we can do," he urged, propelling her into action. The tension filled the air again, but this time, it was adrenaline mixed with a sense of purpose. Without thinking, Sarah and Jake sprang into motion, ready to corral the unruly horse. Working in harmony without a spoken word, they had to focus, their connection both instinctual and extraordinary. As they approached the crazed animal, Sarah felt every muscle in her body tense. "On 3!" Jake yelled, and she nodded, adrenaline and fear thrumming through her veins as they prepared to execute their plan. And just like that, the moment crystallized, two souls, united in bravery, facing the storm together. In that instant, she understood. This was the turning point she had longed for. A defining moment amidst chaos, revealing the strength of their bond as they leaped into the fray. The world around them filled with possibility,